Hey guys, it is Friday here in West Virginia, and it's time for us to do our Free Friday video. I'm running a little late today. It's already Friday evening, and I'm just now making the video. Usually I'm a day ahead on my uploads, but today kind of forgot about it and forgot like what I had to unbox for you guys. One thing is already unboxed, and it's sitting right here in front of you, and this is courtesy of my friend in Canada, Jason Dryson. And another big thank you to you for sending me this set because I could not find one locally. So this M2 machine set with the van and the Impala and trailer, which is originally in this case here. I just didn't feel like boxing it back up, and I don't know if I can because the van now has a totally different base, and the Impala has been wheel swapped. But anyways, yeah, the box is unique on this one because not only does it have like the Impala SS badging, but the background inside the case is really cool. It's like a small little town, like Main Street during the middle of winter, but it's like a ghost town. There's nothing on the road at all. So kind of a unique background to put behind the van in the Impala. So pretty cool. And this had the 1971 Chevy G10 van, 1964 Impala SS 409 convertible, and then the open trailer. This is from Auto Haulers R97, release 97. And anyways, let's go ahead and start with the van. The van came with some wire spoke wheels on it, but they're not the best looking style. M2 needs to step up their game with the wire wheels, but the cars themselves, so they're getting the hang of it with the lowriders. This paint job is very, very cool. It looks very good for like a 70s van lowrider type of vehicle. It does have a billet grille with hideaway headlights, which I thought was really cool. And the paint job is like a 1970s lowrider would have been. Now on the bottom here, it's not my best looking swap by far, but I could not find anything that had the exact wheelbase. And I know somebody pointed me in the direction of somebody who prints bases for these vans, but when I found it, it was Andy's 3D bases, I think is what it's called. But it says he's taking a break from printing bases. So I just went ahead and threw one together here. And you can see there's like a box in the back window that's actually a Lego in there to kind of help the body or the chassis from going up into the body, because you have to cut part of the interior out to clear the chassis from Revell. And the front seats and dash and stuff is still intact from the M2. But yeah, as you can see, it's a Revell base that I did cut and splice back together. And I did grind a little bit off the bottom because it does lack a little bit of clearance. So as you can see, it's up in the air there. Drop it down. It still rolls, but it does set really low on the back, but it still rolls. And then the front is up. So pretty cool. And then raise the back up. And it can go even a little bit higher. I usually use these little tiny pieces of black foam. And I cut them into like rectangles and such, and you could put it like, for example, like right there, and it will make the back end set up a little higher. And you could do the same on the front side too. So pretty cool. I use that for some of the Fineworks cars I got with loose fitting joint, because I've tried taking those things apart and grinding the plates to make it have tighter clearance, but it just doesn't seem to help. So anyways, that's where those little foam blocks come into play. Now the chassis, or not the chassis, the trailer. These are the wheels that were on the van, as you can see here, and I think they were the same ones that were on the Impala too. But as you can see, the box, the toolbox on the trailer goes right along with the same paint scheme as the van and Impala. It has Chevrolet with the cross flags, like the emblems on the Impala. So pretty cool trailer there. And the Impala. The Impala did have a Continental kit on it. I took it off and put it on one of my Fineworks Impalas because this Impala, the M2s are a little bit bigger than all the other manufacturers. The other manufacturers such as not M2 but Fineworks 97M, Revell, and Greenlight all have the same size Impalas. Now, M2 is slightly bigger, and when it comes to having the Continental kit on it and having no roof because of the drop top, it looked extra long, so I took it off and used it on one of my other ones. And I did wheel swap it with some wheels from, I think they're called Pablo's wheels. Ronnie, I forget his last name, but his first name is Ronnie, like me. But anyways, he does a really nice job on some 3D wheels. They're a little bit bigger, but they work out perfect for the M2 stuff. As you can see, they just seem to suit this car very well. Now, under the hood, I'm a little disappointed on their details, but I even pointed this out in the crew cabs that they were doing this with. As you can see, the engine is the same thing as the interior. They're printing or making everything at the same time on the same plastic. I call them trees, like where the parts for model cars come on. Well, that's the same process in the factory. With these, all that stuff is printed together, and then they don't even do anything with the engines anymore. They used to paint them black or even add more colors than just black, but now they just leave it like that. It's horrible. And I don't know. The car looks great. They're Impala. And this also has hideaway headlights on. Now, on the Impala, I like to have the exposed headlights. That's just part of the Impala's thing. But that is another grill that M2 makes. You can easily grill swap it with one that doesn't have this billet grill. I think this is the only one that has this grill. But on the vans and on trucks, it looks fantastic. But on the Impala, I'm not really into it. I would prefer to just have the exposed headlights. But besides that, it's a fantastic looking set. It is pretty much spot on perfect to represent what lowriders look like with the paint scheme and stuff like that. Pretty cool. So now moving along to another Impala that we have. This is the 65 Impala SS from Auto World. We've unboxed one of these before, but this one is the actual store exclusive in this orchid lavender paint scheme. And evening orchid poly. So this one here, I'm going to try to put on an adjustable base from Diecast Mafia. It seems to have the same wheelbase as the 62. The 62 may be just a hair bit shorter, which would be perfect because, as you can see, in my opinion, it looks like the rear wheel sets back a little too far. So it wouldn't hurt to move it forward just a hair. So we're going to try a 62 base on the 65. And as I showed you guys the other week, the 73 Chevelle I got from Greenlight, I can probably get one of the Regal bases to work on it. So we're going to get some bases next month from Diecast Mafia and see what we can do with a 65 and 70 Impala from Auto World and that 73 Chevelle from Greenlight. But anyways, this color is limited to 3,500. Right now, the Auto World store has these on sale for $9.99. They're usually $15.99. So very good time to buy this one if you haven't yet. And it just gives you some story on the back here about the Impala itself. It just says the year was 1965 and the classic muscle car era was just cutting its teeth. Chevrolet was hard at work dreaming up new and exciting ways to coat the pavement with burnt rubber and set themselves apart from the big three. Chevrolet's brainchild for the 1965 full-size market was the Impala SS. Early in the year, the beastly 409 was the top engine option, but soon replaced by the more advanced yet still potent SS 396. Yeah, that was the first year for the big block in 65, and then available as a 1 year only. Customers could also opt for evening orchid paint to add a level of distinction to their mighty chariot. Limited to 3,504 pieces, available exclusively through AutoWorldStore.com. And as I said, they usually were $15.99, but now they are only $9.99. I guess this one wasn't selling as good as the two Mopars, because the Mopars, the 70 Fury and the 68 Coronet of Dick Landy, they are still $15.99 each. So here it is. It's the white interior and the detailed big block under the hood. As I've always said, Auto World does a beautiful job on their engine compartments. So really cool car. And this one I've already drilled apart too, because I'm anticipating getting another base for it. And you do have some clearance in here because the motor compartment isn't as deep as what some are. And it doesn't have those full inner fenders in the front. It just has half inner fenders. So there's not as much in the way, but on the bases that are made by Diecast Mafia, they don't have any obstructions in the front anyways. It's pretty straightforward in the front with the movable A-frames. Now on the back, you have some wheel tubs, and the rear end is on a pivot ball on the drive shaft to make it function. But, yeah, that I can make clearancing for through the interior bucket and stuff. But sometimes the front is what I worry about when I'm using the Revell stuff. I basically got to find cars that do not have engine compartments because I need that room for all of the moving parts for the front suspension. That's we're using a Revell chassis. So, anyways, this, as I mentioned, we will get a chassis for, probably have it finished up by the middle of July. And same thing with the 73 Chevelle. I did buy some Fine Works chassis, which they're pretty decent too, but they have the pivot ball front and rear, but they don't have a lot going on with the engine compartment area. I have some of those coming. I planned on slapping on some Greenlight cars. But we'll see what happens. It may work on the 65 Impala. They should get here before I have to place my order to Diecast Mafia. Now, the last piece we're going to take a look at today is probably one of the holy grails for Greenlight Mopar muscle. It is this guy here, this 1970 Plymouth Roadrunner. This is from their Ad Rods series, and this was a hobby exclusive. And I was living in the Philippines when this thing dropped, and the guy that sold Greenlight there, he tried to get some cases of them, but they sold out before he could get any and such. So I wasn't here to get them when they were still available at a decent price. So I ended up having to bite the bullet and dish out $60 to get this stupid thing. But I do love it because it was a real advertisement from 1970, as you can see there in the picture, and it has the bird with the racing helmet and stuff, which is really cool. So this is one that you almost do not want to open. And it even has the story about the Roadrunner. The Plymouth Roadrunner was mildly redesigned for 1970 with updates including a new grille, leather seats, hood, and front fenders, quarter panel single piston disc brakes, and even non-functional scoops in the rear quarters. The air grabber option was redesigned to increase efficiency to better intimidate opponents. A switch below the dash initiated a vacuum servo to slowly raise the forward-facing scoop, exposing shark-like teeth on either side. Yeah, the gear grabbers in 70 and 71 were really cool. The ones in the 69s and stuff, they were not even visible, like the functionality part. But in 70 and 71, yeah, you could see it when it was turned on. It was really cool. So, anyways, they made an advertisement of one with the bird head in it, and I did go ahead and open this because I just can't stand it. I have to open everything. So, anyways, here it is out of the package, and it looks really cool. With the bird, I thought the bird was going to be detachable, but it's not. Unfortunately, it's in there pretty good, and I do not want to break it after spending that much money on this stupid thing. It's not really a stupid thing, it's really cool, but yeah, a little bit overpriced for 1/64th, but I had to have it. I have all of their other stock 70 Roadrunners except for this one. Now I have all of them. I think there's 7 stock ones total, meaning that they look bone stock with the bone stock paint colors and wheels and such things. So really, really cool car. And these, yeah, they were numbered. 2388. I'm not sure how many of these they made, but I know most people that have them do not want to get rid of them. That's for sure. It's hard to find these things. Usually there will only be like 2 or 3 available on eBay, and they're usually anywhere between 60 and $100. It's crazy, but yeah, it's hard to find them for under 60. So when I had the opportunity to grab one at 60, I went ahead and pulled the trigger. So that is it for today, guys, for our Free It Friday. I keep saying this, but over the weekend, I'm going to try to do some videos on some Silver Series stuff from Hot Wheels. I will try to remember to do that if I find time. And if not, we'll be back again on Monday for our Mopar Monday. Thanks for watching, guys, and have a great weekend.